Hi, my name is Macy Shaw and I serve here at UL Chi Alpha on staff. And today I just want to ask you one question. Why discipleship? I mean, think about it. Out of all of the methods and ways that Jesus could have chosen to carry out ministry to establish in his time here on earth, why discipleship? I mean, couldn't he have just shared a couple of really good sermons to get the information out there? Why did he value establishing this so much in his time on earth, and why is it still valuable today? You know, I don't think it takes long for us to look at the life of Jesus and realize that discipleship for him, it wasn't just an afterthought, right? It wasn't just something that he thought he'd do if he had, just because he had extra time laying around, right? It was more like the actual heartbeat of his life. It came out of the core of who he was, right? It wasn't just something he did, but it was the real fruit of who he was. You know, I think if we're honest, sometimes when we think about discipleship and we think about sharing and showing people how to pursue God for themselves, it's one of those things that we tend to treat as, if I have extra time, you know, if it fits right in my schedule, I'll think about doing it. And it hasn't quite become something that is who we are, but it's just something we do. And I think if we're honest, we need to really let it become the core of who we are, just like it was for Jesus. It needs to become what it was meant to, that we are disciples who make disciples, right? That's a core part of our identity as children of God. You know, Jesus's method, his model, is typically something we will refer to as transgenerational discipleship. And it's just exactly what it says. It's discipleship that transcends generations. It goes from generation to generation to generation. One person, they get saved, they accept Jesus as their Lord and Savior of their life, and then they learn what it means to pray, to seek God on their own, to read their Bible, to have real relationship. Then they teach someone else how to do that, and then they teach someone else how to do that. Disciples who make disciples of all nations. And you know, in the master plan of evangelism, it actually has a quote that I love here. And it really shows how Jesus did lay the groundwork for this. It says, in giving himself to God, Jesus gave himself to those about him, right, his disciples, so that they might come to know through his life a similar commitment to the mission for which he had come into the world. And so basically, right, we look, Jesus, with his original disciples, he shared with them life. He shared with them how to know God more. And through this, that kind of like sparked a passion in the disciples, and they began to share a similar commitment for the same mission, that all the world would come to know who God is and really have relationship with him. We're to follow Jesus' example, right? This is not something that we're ever meant to keep to ourselves, but we're to follow Jesus' example and inviting others to really come and taste and see that the Lord is good. Come to know the God that we've come to know, right? We can't be selfish with the good news that we've heard. Matthew 28:19. I love this verse because it really impresses how much this is a biblical command, right? This is Jesus talking to his disciples. He says, therefore go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Right? Jesus, right at the beginning, sending, and it's called the Great Commission. He's commissioning his disciples, right? He's not suggesting, if you have time or if you feel like it, but he's saying, hey, make this a part of your life. Go and make disciples forever until the day you're not here anymore, right? This is something that he wanted to be the core of who they are, not just something they do, but who they were. And so what we're going to do now, we're kind of going to shift gears a little bit, and we're going to take a look at how effective Jesus's method of transgenerational discipleship is from kind of a numbers perspective. So if you're a math person, you should enjoy this. We're going to start by talking about two different people. One, obviously, we're going to be calling the super evangelist. Now, this is the person, when you think of an evangelist, like they're traveling everywhere, all over the country, 365 days a year. They're speaking literally somewhere different every single day, no days off, not even taking off Christmas. And for the sake of this example, let's say every day of the year, 1,000 people get saved from their preaching. Next, we're going to look at the faithful discipler. This is the person who they're going to be intentional to look at their own sphere of influence, maybe some people they work with, people that they see regularly. If they're in school, maybe people in their classes. And they're going to be faithful to choose 5 people to take for a year and disciple, people who are wanting to learn more about God. And they're going to faithfully disciple them as a faithful discipler. So we're going to take a look at some numbers. So following this pattern, at the end of year 1, the super evangelist who is talking everywhere, all over the country, every day of the year, 1,000 people get saved, 365 days. That brings their number at the end of year 1 to 365,000 people saved. That's impressive. I don't know about you, but I don't typically find myself impacting that many people for the cause of Christ every year, right? That's like a lot of work. It's really impressive. We're going to look next at our faithful discipler, right? 6, right? So including them as the faithful discipler plus the 5 other people that they discipled in year 1, that leaves 6 people impacted for the cause of Christ. Now, I know what you're thinking. Macy, that's kind of a big gap. I know. Just keep going. We'll see what happens. We're going to move on to year 2. Year 2, so super evangelist, does the same exact thing as the previous year. So we're just adding an additional 365,000 for at the end of year 2. The super evangelist has 730,000 people in 2 years that they've seen come to accept Christ. Again, super duper cool. But we're going to look at the faithful discipler now. So what the faithful discipler did in year 2, obviously year 1, they discipled 5 people. So in year 2, the faithful discipler is going to find 5 new people and disciple them. But what's cool is the 5 original people that they discipled is going to find 5 of their own. And so now at the end of year 2, that brings their number to 36, right? Again, still a big difference. It's not looking too hot, but just keep tracking. We're going to skip to year 5, bump it up a little bit. The super evangelist has already crossed 1 million, almost 2 million people, for 1,825,000 people impacted for the cause of Christ. Now, our faithful discipler, they're at 7,776 people. And what I think is really notable to mention here, the super evangelist, right? They're blowing and going every day of the year, right? They are taking no breaks, no sick days, no rest days. And of course, they're reaching so many people, but the faithful discipler, 7,776 people, like, that's not too shabby either, right? But the faithful discipler is able to live a life of discipleship where they're able to rest, they take regular Sabbaths, but they're living in community with people. But they're still able to make such a great impact. But let's keep going. We'll see how these numbers go. Bumping up again, we're going to move on to year 8. The super evangelist, again, about to go over 3 million. They are currently at 2,920,000 people. And this is actually where we start to see a turning point for our faithful discipler. We're going to look, again, same one person that started with discipling 5 people every year, and the people they discipled discipling more people. Their number has come to 1,679,616 people. Not even just saved, right? Our super evangelists, they've preached and this many people have gotten saved in 8 years. But for our faithful discipler, that means 1,679,616 people have not only accepted Christ, but they've been discipled for an entire year to where they know how to share their faith, they know how to read the Bible, pursue the Lord on their own. What an amazing thing to be able to do, right? We're going to look just for funsies at one more year, and this is where it gets really fun. Of course, the numbers kind of start to snowball, but Year 9, super evangelist, right? 3,285,000. But our faithful discipler, drumroll please, 10,077,696 people faithfully discipled and knowing the Lord and serving the Lord and discipling people themselves. What an incredible feat. You know, when I look at this example of numbers, it really just encourages me every single time, because if we're honest, sometimes it's easy to think about and look at ourselves and think, wow, you know, I'm not a pastor, I'm not preaching to hundreds of people, I'm not a super evangelist, I'm not preaching to thousands of people every single year. Is my little 1, 2, 3, 5 people I'm discipling, is that really gonna make a kingdom difference to impact the world? And I think what we see here from this example is that, yes, like, it is so beautiful whenever we take what the Lord puts in front of us in every single season, even if we try to look at it and we feel like it's small compared to other people that we're looking at. When we're faithful with the little and what God has put in front of us in every season of life, we can come to see real kingdom impact and real life change for the cause of Christ and for the sake of the gospel. It's such a beautiful thing that the God of the universe wants to partner with me, with you, with all of us. Would we continue to say yes? Would we continue to take faith-filled steps of obedience one day at a time and see God move in incredible, incredible ways in our lives and in the hearts and lives of those around us? Thank you.